You're listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more. Wepa, what a minute, this is your boy Al Mega. Welcome to a brand new Comic Crusaders podcast. And today, we're talking games, comics, and a whole lot more with an award-winning, that's right, award-winning game designer. All right, he's also a comic book creator. He's had a project out before called So-Called Living, and guess what? Books to be in for are going to be dropping real soon on Kickstarter. We're going to learn all about that and a whole lot more from the man himself, the incredibly talented, the one, the only Mr. Maia. How you doing, homie?
That's a great intro.
Oh, man.
Can I hire you just like when I walk into a room, I want you to go, a few feet ahead of me and just do that every time I walk into a room?
I'll be the hype man. I got it. I'll bring the weapon each and every time. And hey, Big D, what up, brother? How you doing, Danny? Welcome to all my Crusaders to hang out with me and Mark today to talk about So-Called Living and a whole bunch more. I'm absolutely excited. So Mark, what up? I don't know if you know a bit about the show, but we always need to have our origin story. So the two questions here. There's a two-parter. Where are you originally from? And the most important question of all, what was the first thing in fandom, all of fandom, that you fell in love with?
All right. Well, where I'm originally from is Toronto, Canada. That's where I was born and raised. And all of fandom, I think Spider-Man's always been my big thing ever since I was a kid. I've got like pictures of me wearing a Spider-Man sweater, holding Spider-Man toys. So I think he's always been like before the comic books, like the character himself, his toys, the cartoons, like those things. Before I could read, I was into Spider-Man.
Excellent. And then how did that love of Spider-Man evolve to expand, if you will, in your fandom?
Well, it's the thing. Like when I always was interested in comic books, but as a kid, to be honest, I wasn't all interested in reading. So, because I had video games, I had TV, I had that stuff there. So I wasn't really interested in reading. And when I tried comic books for the first time, I didn't know what to buy. So my parents bought me, and my parents don't know what to buy me. They're like old school European. They don't speak English. So when they bought me like a Daredevil comic book. And I remember reading this comic, and it was like Typhoid Mary choking out Daredevil in a sewer, or what, like, you know what I mean? Like it was an intense adult story. And I read it as a kid, and I was like, I don't know what's happening. So I was like, maybe comic books aren't for me, right? So then I stopped for like years. I still watched all the cartoons. I loved all the cartoons, right? They came up with those like Fantastic Four cartoons, Iron Man cartoons, like all that stuff. So I'd watch it all. I still loved it all. And then when it came to actually reading comics, I was probably 13 years old, I think. And it was with Torment, the Spider-Man #1 Torment by Todd McFarlane. That I read that, and I was like, hey, this is great. So then, because it was new and I got it, like I got the bag version, but I opened it, because I didn't understand. I wasn't a collector then. Yeah. So if I knew better, I'd buy two. I wanted to keep seeing
what the hell is this bag?
Yeah, exactly. So and that's why I learned about bags and boards. I was like, why are these in bags and boards, right? And they're like, oh, it's keep them safe. Oh, okay. I had no idea. It was like a brand new comic book store opened up down the street from my house, which has never been a thing. So I thought, well, this is a sign. It was meant to be. So 13 years old, it popped up, and I was like, I'll go there and I'll start buying comics.
Nice.
So yeah, that was it. So Spider-Man Torment, man, McFarlane, he pulled me in.
Yeah, well, I get it. So were you by yourself and you geekdom, if you will, growing up, or did you have a tribe of friends, if you will?
I did not. All my friends in Toronto are all into their own things, right? Like they were all into they're more into outdoorsy things. They were more into sports and doing things like that, where everything I like to do is indoors. Like I drew, I wrote stories, everything I did was like indoors. I like playing video games. I like playing board games, although I had nobody to play board games with. So that's what was good about video games. Like I could play that by myself.
Yeah.
So even though I had friends, when we hung out, we either were outside or we watched movies. So none of them were really into comics. I dragged my nephew into it, who's like 4 years younger than I than I am. So when I was 13, he was 9, but I wheeled him into it. And he
Yeah.
got good at like going through the quarter bins and finding some like great X-Men issues and things like that.
Oh, funny. That was excellent.
Yeah, which I eventually won off him because I used to gamble with him, and because he had a bunch of X-Men issues I liked, which are
Ooh.
key issues now, like it was a bunch of key Jim Lee issues. So I would play him. We had a hoop in my driveway, so we played 21, and then
Yeah.
like, all right, let's play. If I beat you, I take that book. And if you beat me, I'll give you this book or whatever. We keep playing that, right? He's
Yeah.
like, okay. He was terrible at sports. Like I was bad, but he was terrible. So I beat him every game, and I'd be like, double or nothing, double or nothing, double or nothing. Eventually, I
Oh
take.
man, you just knew.
But eventually, in his defense, he did pay up. He gave me all those books. I still have them.
Oh wow, that's funny. You set him up, man. You knew his weakness, and he said, "All right, but."
Well, he wasn't a kid that took care of his stuff anyways. So really, I did those books a favor. If I didn't win them off him, then they would have been just wrecked and
You
destroyed, and
see that
probably thrown out by his mom.
he was
So
just trying to bring them home to a safe home,
yeah,
people.
I
He
saved
didn't
them.
look for his family.
I'm a hero.
I love it. All right, so here we are. You're having fun. You're snatching books from your boys over there. So how does that turn you into a creative person? When did the bug bite, if you will, and got you into being a creative person? And what was
Well,
the first thing you started working on?
well, I was always like ever since I was a kid, I was always drawing. Even though I'm not the artist for so-called living, get that out in the open. So I'm the writer, creator of so-called living, but I'm not the artist. And so like I always drew when I was a kid. I used to open up like catalogs and draw on the models, and that's what I did all the time. So I was always in that. And at school, every time there was writing competitions, I would join those. Every time there was art competitions, I'd enter, and I'd either win or come in second place. So it was great. Although problem is when you win a writing competition, they make you read in front of people. And I hated, and I was nervous. I was shaking. I knocked over the podium once. It was just a disaster.
You
But
like the podium, man.
yeah, so it was. So, anyways, I was always into it, and then, but when kids are when creative kids are into things like that, I find it important, and I know this because I didn't have parents that did this, but like my parents just kept me alive. They did a great job. Here I am. So like they fed me, and the kids a roof over my head, so they did a great job that way. But they didn't understand how to support a kid in like the arts, right? Because like they're old school Portuguese parents. They're like
Oh,
construction or office job. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like that's what
I
they
get it.
understand.
Oh, I get it.
So
Well, I have Portuguese, Brazilian friends, and let me tell you, yeah, if this shit isn't related to a professional
yeah,
thing, it's not real. Art is not
exactly.
real.
So
I hate that. I mean, but that's also across, I think, all most Latin culture, where they never respect the arts, man. Never.
no, so I like, and they'd buy me supplies, and I would draw, and I think part of it is because it keep me quiet in my room, right? But
It
eventually,
whatever kept you home and safe.
yeah. So, but eventually in school, like long story short, I went through school. I got into art school by accident, and I went
Accent.
into, yeah,
You
that's
stripped into the classroom. That this happened.
okay. I'll throw this story in there. So here's what happened. Back in the day, there was a mail strike in Toronto. Okay, right. And during this time, I was applying to schools, but I didn't know what to apply for. I was finishing high school, so I was applying to colleges, and the guidance counselor in school said, "Oh, you should go for broadcasting." And I was like, I don't think broadcasting is my thing because I
You like
mumble a
the
lot and I
podium.
ramble a lot, right? And so, and if I was in broadcasting, I'd be like, like I wasn't very confident talking in front of people or talking to people. So I've had practice since then. But anyways, so I applied to all these broadcasting courses. I got rejection letters from everybody, and then there was a mail strike.
Yeah.
So I stopped getting rejection letters, that's one positive of the mail strike. But then I got a call, and they're saying, "Yeah, is this Mark Maia?" And I was like, "Yep." And they're like, "Yeah, this is Centennial College. We just wanted to inform you because the mail strike, we're calling everybody that you can come pick up your schedule on Monday. So for your classes." And they're just like, "Okay," and they're ready to wrap up the call. And I was like, "Oh, okay, hold on. So are you saying I got accepted into college?" And they're like, oh yeah, you didn't know? And I was like,
Yes.
no. They're like, oh, sorry, we thought somebody called you. Yeah, they loved your portfolio. And I was
Oh
like, portfolio, okay, okay. What exactly? What course did I get accepted into? And I was like, is this broadcasting? And they're like, no, you got accepted into the visual arts program. I can't exactly remember what it's called. The visual arts program at Centennial College. I was like, so I got accepted into an arts program at Centennial College. They're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. It was great. Like,
shit.
sorry, nobody called you. I was like, yeah, that's okay. That's all right. So I just have to come in Monday, pick up my schedule, and go to class. And that's it. And then I'm in school. And they're like, yep. I was like, okay. And I went over that a few times just to be clear,
You're not
So,
fucking with me right now,
so
right?
then I was
Like,
like, okay, all right. I guess I'll see you Monday. They're like, yeah, congratulations. Like, okay, bye. Click. And then I called my girlfriend at the time, first person I called, and I was like, so I got accepted to an art class school or art class or art program. And they're like, did you apply to one? And I was like, no, I didn't. I
oh
didn't
shit.
I didn't apply to any art programs. Like I didn't know that was a thing. I never considered that as
That's
like
so
a
funny.
career or anything. So I never applied. So I don't know what happened. There's some paperwork mishap during this calamity of a mail strike. And they called me and they gave me the thing, and my name must have got mixed up. I don't know if there was a broadcasting program in Centennial, and then my name got mixed up, and they're like, "Yeah,
Hey
this guy got
man,
accepted." So I was
I'm
like,
pretty sure the best mix up ever. I'm pretty
"Yeah."
sure.
So and then from there on, I went to that school, graduated, then I went to art school again, this time on purpose, and and
This
then
time you knew what the hell you applied for.
yeah, and then long story short, I school graduated. I got a job in advertising. A buddy of mine got a job in the video game industry, and he dropped my name. He's like, "You need an animator?" I know an animator, so they called me. So I went and worked for this video game studio, and then eventually, 23 years later, I quit the video game industry in office. I still work in the video game industry as a contractor,
Yeah.
but I quit in office because my baby was born, and so I stayed home with him, and I decided this was time to make my dream come true and actually do comics because I've always wanted to do comics. I just never knew how to get into comics.
All right. So
So
tell
I
us
know
about
it
the
was a
steps.
long story. I'm sorry.
No, no, that's great. So it's all about the journey and the way you get into it. I mean, things are funny the way they work out. So okay, so 23 years, you had enough, baby here now. Now you say shit. Now's the time for me to. All right, dream
Yeah,
time, baby. So,
exactly.
what steps did you take then to learn how to build the book since you were totally unaware as how? Like, what
Well, yeah,
steps you start taking?
yeah. The last Kickstarter, I mean, because this is my second Kickstarter for books 3 and 4. Right when I was
All
doing
right.
books 1 and 2, which are right here actually.
Hey, hold on a minute. Hold on. Let me put you on the big screen over here and show. Look at those bad boys. Hey, beautiful
So
cover.
yeah, when I did those, I was learning everything from scratch. So I wrote this. I actually wrote the script like 12 years ago or 14 years ago or something like that. And then I was trying to find an artist, but I could never find an artist that would kind of stick with me through the process because I was trying to do what everybody wants to do. It's like I want to find a partner in this, right? That way I don't. It's not like I don't want to have to pay the artist. It was like I had no money to pay the artist. So, but I have artist friends that did comic book art, so I asked them. Seems like an okay way to go. And I feel like, if the book makes any money, we'll split it, but I'll pay for all the printing and everything. This is before I knew what Kickstarter was, right? Or I don't even know if it existed then. But so then I couldn't find somebody to stick it out because it's a lot of work. So
Yeah,
people have lives. They didn't, and I guess I get it. So I put it away for a while, and then I decided, you know what? I think it's time to make some big moves. I'm just going to find an artist, and I'm just going to pay them outright. I'm not looking for a partner. I was like, I'm going to create the story on my own. I'll direct the story myself, and I'll just pay an artist to do the work. He'll get paid outright,
yeah,
and he'll get paid regardless of the book makes money. But the thing is, like, if it explodes, it's mine. It's not ours because
yeah,
even though I tried the partner thing, it just wasn't working. But I'm happy I found Marco Leone. That's the illustrator of So-Called Living, and I found him. Was it last year, like late last year? I found him, and because it was about I think September of last year I found him. So about a year ago
all right.
I found him, and it was great. I found him. He's in Italy. So a guy called David Campetti, who's worked in the board game industry. Sorry, who's worked in the comic book industry for years. He's worked with Stan Lee. He's got like 40 plus years in the comic book industry. And he's got this business where he puts people in contact with artists. He's like the middleman. He's got like this whole studio of artists that do freelance work. So I talked to him, and he put me in contact eventually with Marco in Italy, and from then it's been great. So now we're 4 books in. Marco's illustrated 4 books so far.
4 books, man. All
So
right,
yeah, great.
so based on where you're at, and he's all in Italy, man. How is there a communication issue? Does he know English? I mean, how does that even work out? Because this is your first project, so you don't even have your artists like physically near you. This is insane.
It was interesting because like there's some language barriers, right? Because if you read the first book, which is actually on the cover, there's like these chili fries that they're sitting in.
Yeah.
So I had a hell of a time describing to him what chili fries were, because in translating, I found pictures, I photoshopped something, and I was like, these are what chili fries look like, or I was trying to exaggerate them because I couldn't find any good pictures of chili fries. And because I wanted like fries with just a shitload of chili on them. That didn't just look like gravy, right?
They don't understand our American food. You see their food.
Exactly. So they got French fries, but he actually put chili peppers on it. I was like, that's not right. So I was like, we would over that back and forth. And then the scene takes place in a parking lot. But the way you drew a parking lot, I was like, I don't know what parking lots look like in Italy, but that is not what a parking lot looks like in North America. So I sent him a picture of a parking lot. So it's funny, all these things. So when he comes back with something that looks off, and I'm like, that's probably something they don't have in Italy, or like it doesn't translate. I remember like certain things. I can't remember if it was a fist bump or a high five I was trying to describe to him. That happens in book 3. And again, I was like, I just like drew a picture or Googled like, here's a fist bumper, here's a high five. This is what it looks like. And what's great now, actually, I know there's a lot of people shitting on AI art, but it's got a lot of uses. One of which is if I can't describe something to him properly, I use Dolly to be like, okay, I need a big bouncer in a suit with his hand out holding somebody, stopping them from coming in, or whatever it is I need to describe. And then Dolly pulls out a picture. I was like, hey, that's close enough. So I send it to him, and I was like, this is what I mean. So he doesn't like trace it, but it translates the text in something visual that you can understand, right? So he doesn't like draw the thing the AI puts out, but it's a great way to break that, using AI to break that language barrier, right?
Yes.
So that's helped out a lot,
bro.
And
it's helpful. I don't discourage the use of AI when it's for things like that to help you process maybe an idea.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that, I think. And again, you're not using the image or anything, just using it as an example, like you're saying, hey, fuck, you don't get me. Like, this is the best way I could do it for you then. You know, look.
Yeah, and this thing, like, I know a lot of people are like against AI, and I get it. Like I did there's no AI covers in books 3 and 4, but I did do an AI cover for book 1. There was one variation. That was an AI illustrated cover, but I didn't just use voice to text. At that time, I was playing with because I'm big into new tech, right? Like I'm a tech guy. So I was like, oh, there's something that generates AI art. So then I was, first I was playing with the text to image generation. I was like, oh, that's neat. Like, I know you can hate on it, but you got to admire the tech. Yeah. Right. It's amazing technology.
I'm a tech fucking person myself.
Yeah. So I was playing around with it, and I found this one, I can't remember. I've used so much software and websites that do AI tech just playing with it. Right. Like, early on. So I tried all these different ones, and there was one that was really cool that took, like, you could input information, like you could Frankenstein an image together. Like I took a photo of, like, somebody standing like this holding the cup, and then I drew like big boobs on her, and then I pasted a ponytail on her. So I did all this stuff, and then it looked what when somebody gets kidnapped and the psycho sends in a ransom letter, it looks like a ransom. It looked like a ransom letter of images, and I pumped that but it was an image of a girl. But it looked like a ransom letter, looked psycho. So I put that into the thing, and then it basically gave me the outline of the thing I wanted, and then I was able to give it all these different color treatments, and I like it's a very AI looking digital paint style. But I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I did that, and some people are against it, and some people are not. But at the same time, it's like, okay, I did it as an experiment. And then some people were just like, bah, we don't like it. I was like, all right. And one guy came at me, he's like, no way, you haven't seen all this hate on the internet. And I was like, I'll tell you right up, I'm gonna be 48 years old in December, and my entire life is work. So I don't go online to get involved in arguments. I just go online to learn things, and then that's it. So if I need to or see the odd superhero trailer that somebody sends me the link to, but I don't just search online for things. That's just not me. I'm always working. So I never really understood the backlash of it until I did it. And then it came to me, and I was like, okay. And I started looking into it. I was like, all right, I get it, but it's already done. And at the same time, it's like, you're not supporting AI by buying this comic necessarily, because like me and Marco still did all the work on the inside, all me and Marco. The comic book, like one cover out of 6 is AI. And if you don't buy that one. And I could say, like, I'm not going to apologize, because I was experimenting. It was something that people didn't take well. And I get it. I get both sides of the story. So I'm not out to offend anybody. And I'm not like ready to plant my flag and be like, this is okay. And I was like,
you didn't do it with malicious intent. You did it again because you're a tech person. Like,
I'm a tech person. I just wanted to try it. And I was like, okay, it's an experiment. And it's a low run. I think there's like 300 of those issues. And once they're gone, they're gone. And the new run is all artists. And, and I paid for all the artists. There's one cover in the new one that I did myself.
Oh, snap. Well, you know what? Talking about this project coming up, I mean, let's get into 1 and 2, because this baby is still not live, right? People could sign up now, and the link is below, folks. It's right there, all right? It's also in the show notes. So start getting ready. This is, you got 2 created already. You had 174 backwards previously. Woo! Look at that. That's a great example.
I support people on Kickstarter. Like, I support people
back. Like 2 created, and you back. Jesus.
Back.
Well, again, that's great. That's a fucking indie fan. So talk about this, brother. Talk about so-called living. What is the concept behind the book?
Okay, so I'll give you a synopsis of how this all started in books 1 and 2, and then we'll get into what 3 and 4 is about. So in books 1 and 2, it's about Jack, the guy in the front in the blue boxers. That's Jack. So he gets turned into a vampire, and to set up, the world of so-called living takes place in a reality where the extraordinary is ordinary. So it's like our world, but there's vampires, there's werewolves, there's zombies, and they're common day. So they're the extraordinary, but it's just ordinary. Like, the werewolf could be your barista, the vampire could be sitting beside you on the bus, and they're a vampire, they're a werewolf. There's no secrets. They're just, our society grew up together with these monsters. So it's life as we know it, but with these monsters involved in it. But there's still laws, like you're not supposed to just kill people and turn them into vampires. But so Jack gets turned into a vampire, and that's how the first issue starts. And then he's got to learn to adapt to this new way of living. So book 1 and 2 sets up that he's in a situation that he doesn't understand. Like, he knows the rules of it, but his muscle memory, like his life is usually like, I wake up in the morning, I do my thing. But now he's like, I wake up in the morning, I walk out in the sun, I catch on fire. Like, I was like, oh, I can't do that anymore. I can't do this. I can't do that. So there's a lot of things that he's just trying to figure out how to adapt to this new way of living, because it just happened. And then it happened at night, and he's got to wake up and he's got to start living his life. But the first problem he comes across that night that he gets turned is he can't get into his own apartment because he has to be invited in. And so the rules is the living have to invite you into their home. So and his whole apartment complex has got this like no vampire clause. So vampires aren't even allowed in the apartment complex. So, which they take up, they address that as being racist in this issue, right? Like, their landlords against vampires, and he's like, that's racist. So that conversation starts up, but he calls on his friends for help, and his friends they're kind of like comic relief. Like, he's a bit of an idiot. He's the straight man in the situation, but him and his friends are basically idiots, and they try to help him, but they're not much help. And Oh, interesting. They say so. Was that you'd be an all night party man, daytime sleeper? So book, in book four, end of I'm not gonna say book 3 and 4. A party he does this does come up. The going out and partying at night does come up. So that is a topic that comes up.
Hopefully, he didn't get diddled by the diddler, in his so-called living.
No, no, I don't think that hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
But so yeah,
Yeah.
so in books, so books 1 and 2, he's learning to adapt. In books 3 and 4, we see him kind of settling in, and then we also lay down the groundwork for like a bigger story. And thing is, like, it's a dark comedy, so we deal with death and everything very casually. So people die are like, oh, that's shit that she died. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it's dealt with. And there's also these mob characters in the story that they get wind of there's this new baby vampire in town, and they are very interested, and not in a good way. So you'll hear more about that in books 3 and 4. And they are after Jack specifically. They're after general vampires in general, but they're after Jack specifically. And yeah, he has no idea. So while he's trying to adapt this new way of living, he's got the mob after him. And you see in those pictures, like you're scrolling, if you see like the zombie.
Yeah, man.
Like that's a situation. Like zombies in this world are kind of like how we have like homeless and crackheads and on the street, whatever. These instead of that on these streets, what we have in our streets is zombies, which would make sense because if there were people living on the streets, they'd be the easiest targets for zombies. So, but people have learned to adapt and kind of like step over them and walk over them. Like it's become commonplace. So in issue 1, there's a zombie outbreak and they're very casual about it. And there's people that come in and they clean up the zombies, like cleanup crew, and they just get over with it. So that's the world. Everybody's learned to adapt to how their world evolved is different than ours. So they've adapted to these monsters being out there.
I don't really see that being much different because the way the world is going nowadays, no one is ever surprised anymore. Homie says that your boy over here needs a sugar mama. All right. And of course, yep. And agreeing and loving the book, but I'm saying, this art, man, that style, I am digging the shit out of it.
Yeah, Marco nailed it. So when I was looking for artists, I was looking for somebody that I was looking for Humberto Ramos. Ramos?
Humberto Ramos, yeah.
Exactly. So I was looking for Humberto Ramos style art. And I found that with Marco. Like Marco was close. It's not identical, but it had that same energy, that same vibe, and that's what I was looking for so-called living. Because my professional career was a lot of it was as art director, creative director, and a lot of that was trying to find the right art to pair up with the experience. So I'm a strong believer in like the story and the art should mesh. You can't just have random artists and story and mush them together. So to have the best situation, that's what the artist style I was looking for. Did I send you? I sent you a new link. Maybe I sent you the wrong one because I was trying to send you a link to the Kickstarter page, which I just finished. Oh no, that was it.
Oh, that was it. I have it. I'm just moving that over and making sure I can see it all great. There you go.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I sent you the link to the Kickstarter page.
Protecting you, brother. Protecting you. There we go. So let's just keep scrolling down. All right. There we go.
So this is the page I just finished yesterday. I finally finished putting it together yesterday. And there's 3 pages. So I gave you 3-page sample of book. I think it's book 3. Yeah, book 3 because book 4 hasn't been lettered yet. So yeah, that's the mob. This scene basically is the mob discussing in a limo, like they're driving around looking for this vampire, and the boss, that guy there, he's not Mr. DeLuca. He's not impressed that he's got to like roam the streets looking for this vampire. Like, what the hell's going on? And
he doesn't look very happy in this.
No,
scene.
He's not happy at all.
You can see it.
Yeah. So, and you kind of get the idea, here. If you scroll to the 3rd page of that little samples, there's one line there that'll tell you exactly what this is all about. where's oh no, stop right there, where it says this is Rico talking to Mr. DeLuca. Rico is sorry. Rico is Mr. DeLuca's right hand man. So
Yeah.
he's saying we could always try mermaids. I got a guy down at the docks. Mr. DeLuca says, ever try to get high off mermaid scales, Rico? No, sir. You smell like fish for a week.
Damn.
So that's the point of like he's looking to basically get his hands on Jack, dice him up, and sell him for parts to get high.
Jesus
So
Christ.
yeah, so it's violent. So he doesn't
What is
want to
going
coordinate.
on here? I spoke to a Kickstarter creator that actually looks in their world kind of like dead celebs. You dig them up and you smoke their ass and shit. I love this. Drugs, dead humans. What is going on? Please, may you guys be not telling the future. I mean, I'm smoking Soylent Green. I'm smoking Soylent Green right now. Somebody wants to know here. I wonder, does the vampire guy get fired from his job since he's a vampire and can't work in the day?
So we haven't covered that, but we're trying to. I have touched on different aspects of Jack's life, and
Okay.
so right now we've only cut in the four books. It's the first 2-3 days. So let me see. It's the first 2.5 days.
Okay.
so the first 2.5 days of his life as a vampire. So I haven't touched on his job yet, but I can tell you nothing goes good for Jack at first. So everything's bad. He has to learn to adapt to this new bad. So him losing his job, the way things are going, is not something that would be out of the ordinary. It fall right in line with the story.
Gotcha.
But even though I don't have that mentioned in the story, I kind of want to work that in. I do talk about some of the other aspects of his life, but I haven't talked about his job yet.
Yeah, see, there you go, Sick. You done did it now. You done did it now. So let me ask you. So is the artist the full package? Is also handling color duties and whatnot, or is your letterer, your colorist, different members?
So when you're the Marco, he does the pencils and the inks, and then I've got Cabri Studios, who's a collection of artists that do colors. So they're doing the coloring, and for lettering is actually a girl Marco knows. I can never remember her name. Sorry, but she does the lettering, and
You smoke Jack and stuff.
so it's because lettering is always done last, and so he's like I don't work with her as much,
Yeah.
so I forget she's also in Italy, so she does it, and it's funny because she's from Italy. There's certain things that, and I get it because she probably doesn't read English all that well, which makes sense because I don't read Italian well, so it's not a shot at her at all, but sometimes I'll get bubbles that have the same text in both bubbles, and I'm like, I think you copy and pasted by accident, but you didn't even notice because it formed in a different way, and obviously she probably has to try harder to read it. But any letters where you see like not all the time, but most of the cases where there's big like ahs and zaps and ouches and bangs, I usually do those. Oh, and this is Marco illustrating. This is him like cleaning up one of his roughs.
That's badass right there. Look at that shit.
Yeah, Marco's awesome.
Yeah, bro.
And it was like when I asked them, I was like, "Oh, Kickstarter has this new thing where you could put more on the follow page." So I was like, "Can you like next time you're drawing a page, can you just like record yourself doing it so I'll do one of these little gifts?" And then he drew this whole brand new thing just for this. And I was like, I didn't want you to do extra work. I just wanted you to record what you were doing, but I appreciate it. Like it's a great piece. So I was like, I appreciate you doing it. But there was a language barrier thing. I was like, okay, I didn't mean to do something new because I didn't want to give him more work. I was like, he's doing enough as it is.
Yeah, that does look great. And homie is talking about, man, I'm looking at Jack and he looks like he's gonna get robbed on his first day as a vampire, which makes me think of the what was it, Joe's apartment when he gets to New York, he gets robbed instantly.
Yeah, that's calling back Joe's apartment. Wow, you're going back.
It was funny. I actually saw a clip of it the other day and I started laughing like, damn, I haven't seen that shit in a while. Horrible movie. Horrible. Yeah, it's funny, but it's horrible. That is true about them damn roaches in New York. Goddamn, at least back in the day.
You know what I remember about that movie is where he has to change all the urinal pucks. It was at like Yankee Stadium or something. I don't know. So that for some reason that's the part that sticks in my head the most. because every time I go to a urinal, I see the puck. That scene jumps into my head, and I was like, "That's got to be taking up vital information in my brain." Like, why? I've seen that movie once; it wasn't very good, but that scene stuck in my head. I don't know why.
This is sometimes some funny shit because you're thinking about the urinal guy. Do they really do that?
Oh, and for anybody that's read books 1 and 2, you'll notice that like a lot of people really liked like the feedback I got where they liked the big vampires that were in issue 1, which were Nick and Casper, and they're not your traditional vampires. Vampires in this world, at least the ones you meet in the book, are kind of like think of Sons of Anarchy type of personality, but they're vampires, right? So Nick himself, that's the guy on the cover with his mouth open, looks like he's holding somebody's. He's like, he's holding somebody's head.
This guy
Yeah, like right there. That's Nick. So, and his big boy behind him choking somebody out. That's like that's the guy getting choked out. The guy holding him, that's Casper. Casper's even bigger than Nick, but he's in the foreground or he's in the background, so he looks smaller. But yeah, they're like Nick is imagine Nick being kind of like Butcher from The Boys.
Oh, okay.
Right. So he's like an asshole, but you like him, but he's a dick. So he's kind of like Butcher meets Lobo, from DC Comics. That's kind of his hard ass personality. And
I've actually run to a lot of people like that they've actually been called sweet assholes. Like, you're an asshole, but you're still sweet.
Heart of gold. They got a heart of gold. They're assholes.
But you're an asshole. Love it. So, I know a lot of people like that. It's amazing though. It's okay.
Yeah. And if you see the that pink cover on the right, that's that one. That's the cover. I just drew that yesterday.
You mean this one right there?
Yeah, that one right there. That was, I wanted to do something that was kind of stylized. That was like a 3-color, very simple play on bunnies. And the reason I say bunnies is because there's this whole bunny motif through the entire series. It's this underlying story to bunnies. In the beginning, bunnies are in the news. They're a serious problem, but then we don't really touch on it. It's like something that's happening somewhere else. So that bunny storyline is definitely going to be something that Jack's story and the bunny story are going to collide. So it's going to be like Jack's got his problems. He's being chased by the mob. And then there's these bunnies, and the bunnies are like, they're just there. They're an issue that's happening somewhere else right now, but they're eventually going to become an issue. And it's interesting that in a world, I know I wrote it, but I like the idea that in a world full of monsters, people's biggest concern are these bunnies. So
again, and I feel like you kind of talking about things that are going on in the world, but just putting some funny twists on it. They really compare things. It's true. Like, there's so many more important things going on, but there's, and over here somebody says, I really like how he has to be invited to the house because apparently he would be the asshole friend that would not let the vampire in. Like, I'm sorry, homie, I love you, but there's no way I'm letting you in.
Yeah, so his friends are not as callous, but maybe they are as callous, but they're not necessarily not inviting. But his friend, like the guy in the orange toque with the yellow sweater, that's Tim. That's his like best buddy, and he's like, right on, you're a vampire, it's gonna be awesome. And Jack's like, no, it's not awesome. So I can't go out in the day, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't, like, what the hell? He's like, it's not good. And Tim's like, come on, think of all the good stuff because he's not going through it. So he's just like, yeah, of course. Tim's very shallow.
I mean, hopefully he let him in his house, because if you're gonna talk all this shit, you better let me sleep on your sofa, bro.
Yeah, he does. And actually, book 3, which it looks like he's walking in front of right now, that is that's basically we get to see where Tim lives. Okay. So he's taking care of his boy Jack, and it's interesting.
I cannot wait. This sounds like hella fun. Again, beautiful artistry, colors. I mean, you built a hell of a team in a book, bro. So what lessons from book 1 and 2 that you learned that you have applied into this one that's coming up?
Well, one thing I've actually learned I've learned a few things from books 3 and 4 that I will apply to 5 and 6. that that are as far as layout that
Yeah,
I'd like to work on because like Marco does a lot of like single pieces, but I don't know how many comic books in general he's done. So there's 2 pages where the layout is like that breaks some rules, but it works. It works. But we're both new to comics, so I've learned those, and I'll pass those on to him for the next books. But it's done. What's done is done, and it's not the end of the world. It's just some like
yeah,
the way panels are laid out. We break some rules, but what I have learned is the kind of like the how can I say this? There's more happening in these next books. So there's some things that, and also to be more careful with editing because there was 2 errors in the first book. No, one in the first book, one in the second book, as far as like text. One is like just a smart ass remark I put in the legal of book 1
yeah,
that went in the final print, and it's just a typo. So instead of reading, it says ready. So it's like, but it's nothing story breaking. It's a funny line I put in the legal. And then there's one line in book 2, which I didn't notice until I actually came out in print. I don't know how it got through, but instead of the word new, or instead of the word like I know, it says
yeah.
I knew, and it doesn't actually make sense in the context that it's being used. But so just to be a little more careful of those things. So like the production things is what I've learned. And I've also learned how to communicate with Marco better, but it's gotten better because he's getting more comfortable with the characters. So his art in books 3 and 4 far surpasses art in books 1 and 2. Like he's getting better and better. Like I love that cover, that big fight cover with Nick on it,
Yeah.
grabbing the guy by the head, that big scrap. Like it's awesome. I love that cover. And when he sent me that, because I sent him, I was like, okay, I got this concept. And there's certain things, there's like, it's just easier if I draw it like a rough and send it to you um, instead of trying to describe it or using AI because I don't know if AI can explain it either. So I literally drew stick men and I color coded them and I was like, this is Nick, this is Jack, this is Tim, these are all the characters.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want them in a big fight. And I was like, I don't want to see any page. I just want the page to be filled with people just fighting. And I want them to be like intertwined. Like and then he sent me the rough for that. And I was like, there's never something like Marco's great, but this is the one thing that he sent back to me that I was like, you fucking nailed it. Like, love it. I love it. Like, he's done things
You
that
put a sledgehammer to that shit, baby. You
yeah,
motherfucker. I love it.
like he fucking nailed it. And I
Great.
was like, that was the moment I was like, Marco, you're getting so good, buddy.
Don't leave me. Don't you dare
No,
leave me now.
so I'm trying to see if I can eke out these 8 books before he leaves me, or he's like becomes, this big
Just
artist that I can't afford anymore. It's like, don't forget where you came from. Like, don't forget your beginnings.
right. Please, please don't forget little old me.
Yeah, don't forget me. Don't leave me behind. And I
All right.
always wanted to get into comic books, and like I don't know how to get. And growing up, I was like, all I know is Marvel and DC. I don't know how to get into Marvel and DC. I have no idea. I didn't even know where to reply. So I was like, I think I'm just going to write my own comic book, and that's what you have to do. But for anybody out there that wants to start their own comic book, I encourage you to do so if you really want to do it. But there's talking about it and there's doing it. A lot of
Yeah.
people are talking about doing things, whether it be a comic book or a novel, whatever it is. If you don't actually sit down and do it, then it's just talk.
Mm-hmm.
Like sit down and do it.
And it's
So
wasted time. It's wasted time when you're speaking instead of doing.
yeah, exactly. So I'd recommend until you actually start doing, don't start talking about it to people. Unless it's like a brainstorm thing, but don't be like, "Oh yeah, I plan on writing a comic book or I plan on writing a novel." But you're like, "Are you?" Like, "No, but I plan on doing." It's like, "Well,
Then
then
you're
you're not
not
really doing
doing
anything."
anything. Yeah.
Because
Like
I was
I
like,
say, I have it. I'm actually am and I actually have it. I have 3 books done, and I'm just
yeah,
giving it to my brothers to read and kind of give me an edit because it includes them. So I want to make sure I get their blessing.
yeah, yeah. And thing is, it's like it's important to get it done because like I like so-called living. I think the story's great. But I have no doubt that when I write more of the story or write a different story, that I'm going to look back at these and being like, oh, that could have been better. You know what I mean? But I'm not there yet. Like failing is okay. Just get it out there. And it's your first stuff is not going to be your best stuff. You're always going to get better, right? If you keep working on it, you're going to get better. So you just got to realize what you put out now is not necessarily going to be your best stuff. Like the stuff you do in the beginning is not going to be best stuff. Like there are careers that you're like, it's like, oh, it gets better, get better, and then you reach your peak, and then everything's not quite as good, you know, and then maybe you'll hit a few peaks, but it takes a while to get to that level first, right?
Yeah.
Like, I love Robert Kirkman, and like I loved Invincible, I loved Walking Dead, and for me, that's like his peak, right? But I haven't read a whole lot of recent Robert Kirkman stuff. So like, is it still up there? Because I haven't heard anybody talking about it, but I would guess that he's going to have a hard time topping himself with Invincible and Walking
Well,
Dead, right?
the way he's
But that's
done
not bad. Like, he's playing like this, but he's way up here already. We're down here, so it's okay.
it's about renavigating like he did. You know, he did what he did, created some super hit projects, and now he's running a publishing press within Image, if you will, with Skybound.
Yeah,
That's murdering it because he knew what to go after with the Hasbro stuff.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
the John, Void Rivals. Like, you know, one book has nothing to do with anything, brought in the Hasbro verse. Insane how he did it. Bring me some
Yeah.
mask though, please. I want some mask in there.
He's killing it. I need that guy to be like my mentor. Hey, Kirkman, if you're watching, I will gladly, if you want to take me under your wing, I'll gladly just curl up under there.
We have a creator here. You know, he says he started the other day. He's on page 4, 3 more pages to do. He feels it's a soothing process, and we'd love to send you a page to see what you think. So
That would
again,
be that, like, that's awesome. Like,
right?
the fact
And
that you're
here's
doing
what I
it.
do. Follow my man right here on Instagram, so-called Living, you know what I mean? If you want an opinion, there you go, from a professional. You can even hit us up, you know what I mean? I've been scrolling my stuff at the bottom. You can hit us up on any ones, you know, hey, we'll share and show the love. But what we're sharing today and showing love for is this project right here, this amazing Kickstarter project that will be going live real soon, folks. All right. It's the books 3 and 4, so-called Living. You've seen how dope the book looks. You've seen the artistry. He got an ill team. I mean, this is only his second book. I mean, so again, he's not just an indie creator, gaming designer. He's also a believer in indie. 174 back projects. So no, he ain't just talking about it. He doing it, baby. He living it. He all about it. So
Thanks,
this is the incredible Buck Myers, so-called Living. So, bro, before we go, you know, you're new in the game, and also, you have any plans for like conventions or 2025 or even this year, making appearances anywhere?
Yeah, I've tried to do some cons. I've done 4 so far, and but my schedule's been really busy because I have a YouTube channel as well called Board Game Coffee, and it's about
Oh
board
shit.
games.
Really? So wait, so talk about that. When do you go live on that, or how often do you drop content?
Oh, well, I've slowed down recently to work on the comic, but so I'm down to, I used to be like a video or more a week, but now I've dropped down to about 2 to 3 a month. And but I do a lot. Like, if you see there's a pile of comic books. There's a teleprompter, a big light. So my studio is over there, but it's a mess right now. And there's like games that haven't been released. There is DC United from Simon, that box right there. Over there is a game I just did a video for that I think it's just announced. It's called West Story. So yeah, there's tons of stuff. Oh, and there's Brown Box. That's actually something top secret. That's actually from Skybound. That I can't tell
what?
you. Yeah, it's in that brown box right there. I can't tell you.
Oh my God, sweet, bro. Look at this. He excited. Look at him, making me jealous. Like, oh my God, like, I want to see.
Well, yeah, so I've been doing Board and Coffee for like 6 years, but it's I've slowed down to do the comic book, and you know, there's like, if you see it, there's if anybody's interested, like there's like standard covers, there's elite covers where I get guest artists. This time I was one of the guest artists, and then I have these sex pot covers, which are like sexy covers, because like if you look at Kickstarter comics, sexy covers are very popular. So I thought, hey, I want to play the game too. So I was just like, I'll put a sexy cover on there. So it's like a sexy cover that has to do with the story that's in the book, but there's no sexy characters in my book. If that makes sense. So it's just like a fun thing to do.
One of the old cheesecake cover that everybody likes. Nothing wrong with a little cheesecake. I love it.
Yep. So if I heard I heard the term cheesecake only once before, and if I knew that was the term, that's what I would have called it. But I made this badge, and it says obligatory sex pot edition. So if you look at any of those covers, it has a badge saying obligatory sex pot edition, and it's just kind of playing with like leaning into it and being like, I'm not trying to screw anybody. It's like I know people like sexy things. I like sexy things. I like sexy covers.
This guy says, "Hey, sex sells."
Yeah, it does. It does. So I'm here to give it. Like, if that's what you want, boom, it's there. If not, that's fine.
Yeah,
So
the Eminem of the up north got something for you, though. All right. I dig it, yo, bro. I really appreciate the time you spent here talking, and hanging out.
Thanks for having me,
the
man.
project, your journey, dope stuff, man. You keep going forward. I appreciate you as a fan of this genre, and works. Keep going forward, bro. I can't wait to really see what the rest of this book looks like. Exciting. Again, folks, let me just put it on one more time for you guys. Just have a little tease again. Look how dope that is. Look how beautiful that art is. Look at this character. Look at that zombie. I mean, legit. I want to see this shit as an animated cartoon that goes buck.
Yeah, it'd be fun to do. October 1st. You can follow now. Get notified when it goes live.
Get notified. And then how long is that campaign going to run for?
It's going to run all of October.
There you go. 31 days, no excuses. 4 weeks. That's 2 paid days somewhere in there. So don't give me no bullshit, folks. Support independent comics. Sign up right now. Get notified on launch October 1st, mi gente. It is the amazing Mr. Mark Maia, man, the ultimate game designer, the ultimate comic book creator now. It's giving you one of the hottest books that's going to be crowdfunded just next month. I mean, he's going to aim to beat Todd McFarlane's Medieval Spawn, a Kickstarter. We need over $2 million to make this happen. This is going to rock. Right, Mark?
That'd be awesome. Hey, Wiz, it's going to rock.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, he's going to follow his Canadian brother and smash it on Kickstarter too. And our fan that was watching, thank you for hanging out. And he says, an awesome stream. Really digging those projects he's putting on. Thank you. Thank you. This is what we're here for. It's amazing projects for amazing people like Mark. So again, thank you, Mark. Thank you, my Crusaders. I appreciate you. I'm Al Mega. And guess what? We'll see you on the next time. Hasta la próxima, baby. Wepa!
Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.shop and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app in the Google Play Store today.